to touch on was like, how do you separate your recreational clientele from any like athletic people who come to you and want that athletic edge from those styles of training? But you can't do it to everybody, right? You can't provide
Yeah.
that fitness to everybody because not everybody is geared to it, nor not everybody wants it. But that was what the traditional CrossFit model was, right?
Yeah. So, anytime you have someone who has something specific that they want to train for, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be an athlete, but if you want to go that route, let's say you take someone like a basketball player who's in their off season and they're looking for extra work, and they decide, I'll go to a CrossFit gym to do my off season stuff. It's very individualized based on that athlete. So you have to look at every single person from the scope of what do they need to work on? What are we looking to improve? Where are their weaknesses? So if you get someone who is highly skilled, um, and just very technical at basketball, but has a shit gas tank and
Yeah.
just doesn't do well in fourth quarter, third quarter type scenarios, they might need something like work capacity, which is great during like an off season where you want to try and get them off the court, away from running,
Yeah.
make them do things opposite to what they do normally in the season to take away some of the volume. But that's one person, right? You might get someone who is coming back from ACL reconstruction,
Yeah.
and they need a prehab program. So to throw them into a general population based program that's CrossFit would be idiotic. You're putting that person in harm's way, and you're not
Does
going to
that
rehab that person the way that you're supposed to.
does that
What's
happen
that?
a lot though? Does that happen a lot where like in the traditional CrossFit space where someone say they did come back from an injury, they're functional, like they've recovered,
Yeah.
their general rehab is done, but then they get lumped into that space. Does that happen quite
I
frequently?
mean, I can't speak on,
Your
um,
gym,
you
obviously.
know, my gym obviously doesn't do it that way. I can't speak on how other CrossFit gyms do it, but you have to remember too, like I started at the university from a sports and recreational sport training level, right? Like I started training athletes. So I know the difference between training someone who just is general population. They just want to increase their health and they want to, decrease some of the blood markers like, resting heart rate. They want to increase their stamina, whatever, versus someone who is coming from the athletic world that needs to add 4 more reps to their 225-pound bench press so they have a chance at competing for a spot in the CFL. Like those are two very different goals, two very different individuals. So they should be two very different training programs.
Yeah.
The thing with CrossFit, it's general fitness. And that's what people have to understand. So when you have general fitness, I'm not working on anything specific. So if you want to get in general shape, you want to work a little bit on strength, you want to work a little bit on conditioning, CrossFit's a great program if you build it from the ground up. I'm not throwing a new person into a class and we're doing full snatches right away, obviously. But you have to look at like the risk to reward for every single individual. So if I get a basketball player or like a volleyball player with a shoulder injury, they're not snatching
No.
barbells for time. You know what I mean? We're doing some shoulder strengthening and some muscle balance, and we're looking at where they need the work. But you might get someone who, and I've had this before, you might get an athlete who's a stud and just healthy all the way around, and their condition and all they're looking for is just a different look for the next month or so that they can get back into training and not overtrain.
Yeah.
And sometimes CrossFit will do that for people. Sometimes CrossFit takes away the road work of running every single day, puts you on a rower, puts you on a bike. And it's still full body movements that any person would benefit from. We're squatting, we're deadlifting, we're lunging, we're doing overhead pressing, overhead pulling. It's all stuff that you would see in a program. It's just the way that you construct the pieces is a difference maker.
Well, those are the fundamentals, in my opinion. Like I
Mhm.
always kind of like when I get somebody new, I tell them that they'll tell me all this list of goals and shit that they want, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. We're gonna get them, but in order to get them, you need to know how to squat, you need to know how to deadlift, and you need to know how to press weight. There's three fundamental things. Like you can't do flying Superman, clapping, spinning, fucking push-ups if that's what you want to do, and if you can't press 20-pound dumbbells, right? It's as simple as that. So I mean the beauty of CrossFit is I see the value that it introduces these fundamental lifts to people that traditionally, if they went to a gym on their own, they probably wouldn't do. Because let's be honest, when someone goes and works out at their own on their own side, they're not going to the squat rack as the first thing, right? Because it's hard, it's technical, and if you do it right, your legs feel like shit after, and people don't want that, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because I think that that mentality is part of why CrossFit became so popular. You know, like they took people off of the machines, they got people off the treadmills, and they got people away from doing lazy shit at the gym. Because one thing that CrossFit did really well, if you go into any CrossFit gym, even if people are doing things terribly,
Yeah.
every single person in that space is working their ass off. And
Yeah.
you don't get that, you don't get that when you go into a big chain gym. You're going to have people sitting on a leg extension on their phone, someone doing a TikTok video while they're running on a treadmill, like
Yeah.
you don't see this type of shit in CrossFit gyms, because when people go to CrossFit gym, they don't give a shit about their makeup. They don't give a shit about if their outfit is matching. People just go there to work hard. And I think that part of the intensity of CrossFit made it really popular because it taught people to work hard again. And it didn't bias like male to female. It doesn't give a shit who you are. We've got females at our gym that are stronger than males.
Oh, of course. 100%.
We've got people from, what you would consider like an elderly population who would whoop some of the high school kids, some of the university college kids.
Yeah.
So what I loved about it is it kind of brought people together, and there was really no boundaries, no constructs behind the kind of fitness that we were chasing.
Yeah.
A problem with that is things like squats, things like deadlifts, compound movements that are supposed to be functional for the everyday person, right? Some people took that and they ran so fucking far with it that it negated a lot of good things that came out of bodybuilding, good things that came out of isolation exercise, good things that came out of machine-based work. And so part of leaving CrossFit was that I missed a lot of those things that they deemed were unnecessary. And I think they're slowly starting to come around now.
Yeah.
But I mean, things like bicep curls, for example, when I first started CrossFit, if you saw someone do a bicep curl in a CrossFit box, it was almost like you were spitting on the church. It's like, why? That's not functional. That's an isolation movement. What you're working out for aesthetics. You're not working out for performance. And then you get someone who's developing bicep tendonitis from deadlifting with like an alternate grip or whatever.
Yeah.
And what's the prescription? You're gonna go and do some fucking bicep curls.
You gotta put some blood into that bitch, right?
Yeah. Or if you get someone who's like struggling with the pull up or struggling with a chin up, and they just keep trying to alleviate the problem by doing more pull ups and more chin ups, you might have to isolate the bicep and work on that.
Yeah.
So a lot of isolation exercises, I think over time, they kind of got banished from the functional fitness space. And even things like machines, like leg extension machines, hamstring curl machines, like all of those things were kind of left behind to chase this functional fitness. But what if you get someone who's 55-year-old woman who's been in a car accident and she needs to reconstruct herself, and she can't get into a hinge position because she's got a bulging disc. Are you going to try and make her deadlift with a PVC every single day? No, like you got to get her to activate her hamstring. So let's take it a step down. And there's no issue with, regulating someone's fitness and meeting them where they're at. For me, I don't hate on bodybuilding. I don't hate on powerlifting. I don't hate on weightlifting, CrossFit, strongman, martial arts, whatever you want to throw in the mix, whatever works. Yeah. And whatever doesn't, you fucking scrap it. And that's our ideology. Because what works for you, squats might be great for you.
Yeah.
Might not be great for my hockey player who spent 15 years in a boot hinging over from the hip their entire life, right? Squats might not be great for that person. They might never be able to get to the point where squats feel good. And maybe they will, but it might take another 15 years to get there. And they don't want to waste that kind of time,
It took me an ACL tear to squat properly. I had to have my knee reconstructed to realize I didn't fucking know how to squat. And that's the thing that it's like you said, it might take somebody 3 or 4 years to squat properly, but it's the responsibility of the coach and the trainer to find the variations that can achieve that.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue with CrossFit is the barrier to entry is so low. Like you could you could go write the level 1 test right now and open up a CrossFit gym next week. It's that easy.
Enjoyed that clip? Please head on over to the link below to my YouTube page and watch the rest of the podcast. If not, you can always find me on Spotify or Apple or Google Play or all those. We're on everything. Download, listen in your car, get it going. Thank you for the support. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.